I came to Trostenets, one of the most dangerous cities in Ukraine. In this video I will tell you the story how this place became so dangerous and why it's better not to live here for the next 30 years. This is my hometown and I haven't been here for 1 year, but now I must have the courage to come here. The distance from Trostenets to the border with Russia is 30 kilometers. On February 24th, 2022, this city was occupied. A column of armored vehicles numbering more than 100 units entered the city, and for 30 days residents were suffering there. There was no Ukrainian military in the city at that time, so it was easily captured. Before the war, it was one of the most developed small cities in Ukraine, with almost zero unemployment, investments in enterprises and modern infrastructure. Before the 2022, many festivals were held in the city every year, such as East Rock, where famous Ukrainian and foreign rock bands performed. People from all over Ukraine came to the city to watch this. Trostenets is called the chocolate capital of Ukraine. The chocolate factory is the most powerful in Ukraine and processed 75% of local cocoa beans imported into the country. Maybe it made the Russians jealous, but I really have no idea why they destroyed my city. It's very sad to realize that the city was very promising and what will happen now is unknown. The occupation set the city back 10 years. And now let's talk about what happened here during these 30 days. Military battles took place almost every day. The Russians constantly wanted to capture the city of Lebedin here or Sumy in order to go on to Kyiv. But the Ukrainian army and territorial defense didn't allow this to be done and destroyed a significant amount of armored vehicles. And at the first, the Russians were relatively loyal to civilians, but after several defeats in Sumy and Lebedin, they returned angry to Trostenets because they had a base here. They could kill a civilian for no reason. It all depended on their mood. During this time, more than 40 civilians died. Some people are still missing. 830 buildings were damaged. 135 buildings were completely destroyed. Total amount of damages is more than $100 million. And if in the first days of the occupation the shops continued to work, after the Russians became angry, all the shops were closed, and the occupiers just started robbing everything. There is absolutely no food left in the stores. There was a shop here, but now you can see only an empty building. Russians were there. Look at this. Just empty building now, I'm just speechless. Since the city is more like a village, many people who live in private houses have their own farm, vegetables and food just in case, and those who live in the high-rise buildings were forced to starve. There was only one single shop that gave out bread to peaceful people every day. Thanks to the volunteers for that. And now I want you to see what a typical Ukrainian state hospital in a small town looks like. Or even in big cities, Soviet buildings are quite common. And now look at the Trostenets hospital before the start of the war. It's just amazing, modern equipment inside and so on. When this hospital opened, it was even mentioned in the news, and now look how it looks now. I really don't know why this wasn't mentioned in the news, but you know that I only tell the truth on my channel, so watch it. And you can say, well, these are the consequences of the war, but the Russian army fired from a tank at the hospital. Look carefully. There were people here at that time. Also, many people who were in territorial defense of Trostenets were simply stolen and tortured, but no one talks about it. Here you can see a building that became a victim of hostilities. Trostenets is my hometown, and unfortunately at the beginning of the war I wasn't here, so I live in another city. I keep in touch with my friends and relatives from here, but about 20 days later the cell tower in the city was destroyed and communication was lost, as our army finally went to liberate Trostenets. There were really fierce battles, and I just couldn't call anyone, and the news says that Trostenets is the hottest spot in the Sumy region now. I cannot tell my feelings, how happy I was when I could call my family again. In general, as you already know, this is a small town. Approximately 20,000 people lived here. Some people left for the occupation through the Green Corridor. The Green Corridor is an opportunity for civilians to leave the occupied city. And in order to leave occupied Trostenets, people had to pass through several Russian checkpoints. And I heard that in this time they took everyone's phones and burned them. I'm also going to film an interview with a person who survived the occupation and who left the city through the Green Corridor. Subscribe so you don't miss this unique content. A shell from a tank hit here. Look at this, people were living there. And now came the most interesting moment. Why is it dangerous to be here even after the occupation? landmines. Since the Second World War, many countries have become victims of landmines left after the war. Some mines still remain unexploded in various parts of the world, threatening the safety of civilians. But if we're talking about modern war, Ukraine is the most mined country in the world. 250,000 square kilometers, which is more than 40% of the territory of Ukraine, are dangerous for life. The Russian invasion has turned our land into a vast minefield, the size of Great Britain or Romania, or South and North Korea combined. The Sumy region in which Trostianets is located is one of the most mined regions in Ukraine. The Russians understood that they would have to retreat and mine the entire city. Therefore, after the occupation, many people were blown up by mines. And also because of its fact, it's forbidden to walk in the woods. And you know, if mines from World War II are still being found for 78 years, so what will happen to this city with modern mines? I hope that everything will be fine. A unique small town that was in the first place in terms of development in Ukraine turned into ruins from which half of the residents left. But I hope the city will recover and become even better after the victory of Ukraine. In order to fully reveal the topic of the city, all issues, I will film an interview with the residents here. Thank you for watching this video, and if you like my videos, you can support me on Patreon, link in the description below. I will be infinitely grateful to you. And that's it, have a great time.